Hi, I'm Richard Friedman, and welcome to my video cartoon for February 19th, 2025. Here today, I have two separate cartoons with President Trump following the congressional vote to release the Epstein files, and this is in the aftermath of that, and President Trump reversing his position, now saying he wants before that saying he didn't want the Republicans to vote for release of the Epstein files, and then reversing himself, saying he's now for the release of the Epstein files and he has nothing to hide, and that's about where we're at. And I just put this together. It's in my own creation here. Hope you enjoy it. Now here's the first cartoon, and here we have Richard's Representative Lauren Boebert, Republican, Colorado, second call with President Donald Trump. The first telephone conversation they had before the vote, where President Trump was trying to convince her to not to support the passage of the bill to release the files, was initiated by President Trump. This phone call comes from Representative Boebert to President Trump, in my view, trying to square away things, because she's a devout MAGA person, and she would, in my opinion, she would want to get back into the good graces of not only MAGA, President Trump. So I'm having her here, making a phone call to President Trump, initiating it. Okay. After Trump's reversal, and now saying the Republicans should vote to release as President Trump, given it is assumed to be congressional pressure from enough Republicans that forced President Trump's decision to now reverse himself on that, feeling that it was just useless to try to convince people otherwise on that matter. Okay, and the idea here is that initially, Representative Boebert was summoned to a meeting in the Situation Room with AG Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel, and they were trying to convince her that the right thing to do was to take her name off the list of supporting lawmakers that wanted that Epstein file released. They wanted her to take her name off of that, and she reportedly said that there was no pressure on her and that everybody was great and worked well with me. She said that, and then later, this is just quoting, later that night, in a social media post, she hinted the president might have pressured her after all in his telephone conversation that they had together, a separate telephone conversation he had with the president. So the President Trump was not there during the Situation Room meeting. It was just AG Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel, and that's what she basically said. And it is apparent Boebert did refuse to help Trump block the release of the Epstein files and was not intimidated by those high-level Trump administration officials in the White House Situation Room. The White House Situation Room is where they really go. I'm going to talk about the CNN. We're not talking about CNN Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer. We're talking about the White House Situation Room, and that's a pretty high-level place. And she was there, and she was summoned there. Okay, now here goes the cartoon, and here it goes like this. Okay. And here goes Lauren initiating the call to President Trump. Okay, here she is. Here's Representative Boebert, Republican from Oklahoma. And here she is now trying to get into good graces of President Trump in my created telephone conversation here. And here she is on the phone, and she's saying, President Trump, I want to congratulate you on ensuring transparency for the American people. He's now agreeing to, he said he's going to sign the bill that was passed by Congress to release the files. And he was saying that he's got nothing to hide, and the Republicans should vote. So she's calling now again, to congratulate him on supporting transparency. And in that spirit, I hope you understand my decision was not against you, but for the American people. So she's a strong MAGA person and a lawmaker with the MAGA movement. And now, on this one particular incident here, she's departing from President Trump, and she's trying here in this telephone conversation that I created, her making to President Trump to square things over and get back into the good graces, because she's not going to get back into the good graces of MAGA without President Trump. That's for sure. So that was that, and that's what she said here. And then President Trump, I have President Trump here responding to her on the phone here. There he is on the phone. Here he is, President Trump on the phone. And he's not too happy with her, I suppose. Lauren, I really don't want to talk about that any further, but I will tell you that ranting lunatic traitor Marjorie Taylor Greene will never get my endorsement. So President Trump is really fired up about Marjorie Taylor Greene, called her a traitor. Marjorie Taylor Greene, in turn, was very upset at that, and she indicated that. And then you have Lauren Boebert responding here, and she's saying, MTG, meaning Marjorie Taylor Greene, they call her that MTG, won't sink our great MAGA movement, Mr. President. She said that MTG will not sink our great, she said, our MAGA movement, our great MAGA movement. I'm saying because she's very supportive of that movement, okay? And then President Trump saying, going back here, and he's no pushover, President Trump, when it comes to people trying to square things over when they've done him wrong, and he feels that way, and he's saying here, Lauren, I was counting on you as the most likely lawmaker to flip, as the most likely to flip. I was counting on you as the most likely to flip, but now I don't care. So President Trump saying here, I don't care. So what he's saying here is, he don't care. So here's the idea here. Now the idea is that I'm just injecting this, and a lot of people feel this way, possibly, that President Trump doesn't care because he now has other investigations that he's launched against Democrats and some other institutions that are going to come into play very soon. And it's indicated that President Trump said that the certainty of when he's going to sign that bill that was passed by Congress is now up in the air. It seems to be that President Trump he said he would sign it, but he didn't say when, and it seems to be a question mark now when President Trump will sign that bill. So I'm saying here, it could be that President Trump is waiting for those other cases to get started, and then what could happen then is that once those cases are in the works, and those federal cases against other people regarding their relationship with and involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, then they could say, well, we can't. Pam Bondi could come back and say, well, I respect the court, but by law, I can't release these certain things. I can't release because it's going to jeopardize other cases that other federal cases that we're working on that President Trump ordered me to pursue. So there you go. You got like a catch-22 there, going around in circles. So it could be that this will get postponed forever because they could keep adding on to different people coming into play to do investigations on. Okay. So here is on that. Here's what President Trump he put this up on social media, and this is what he wrote on social media a while ago when he was working to not have those Epstein files released. This was President Donald Trump on his Truth Social, and he said, now that the Democrats are using the Epstein hoax, he calls it the Epstein hoax, involving Democrats, not Republicans, to try and deflect from their disastrous shutdown and all of their other failures, I will be asking AG Bondi and the Department of Justice, together with our great patriots at the FBI, to investigate Jeffrey Epstein's involvement and relationship with Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, Reid Hoffman, J.P. Morgan J.P. Morgan, Chase, and many other people and institutions to determine what was going on with them and him. This is another Russia scam with all arrows pointing to the Democrats. Records show that these men and many others spent large portions of their life with Epstein and on his, quote, island. Stay tuned. So stay tuned, because Pam Bondi has indicated that she's going to go ahead and do what President Trump has said to start implementing these investigations and cases against these people. And that's just what I said before, that it could come into conflict with releasing the Jeffrey Epstein files that Congress had voted to release. And it could be President Trump is holding off on signing that until he gets these cases going. He gets them on the grill. Once he gets the cases on the grill and they're cooking, then that could come into play. That's all I'm saying. It's just a possibility. And so that was that. Okay? And is there anything else here? Okay. So there is. You got to give Boebert credit. She withstood the pressure in the White House Situation Room, and she withstood the pressure from President Donald Trump, and her belief is the MAGA movement is putting America in the right direction. So that's her belief. So she's caught between a rock and a hard place. So, in my opinion, she might have tried to smooth things over with President Trump in initiating that call that I just did here, and there it was here. Okay, there it was. I'll just take you back to that call. There is Republican representative from Oklahoma, Boebert, calling President Trump from her office there. And there was President Trump. Okay, now giving thumbs up to the investigation. Okay, I don't think he's giving thumbs up to Boebert, though. If I know President Trump, he ain't going to forget that, Yeah. Okay. Now here we have President Trump with Pam Bondi here. There it is. Okay. And I drew this from an actual picture. This I did from an actual picture an actual photo, I should say, of President Trump with Pam Bondi. This is an actual photo that I drew the picture from. Okay. All right. Bondi may have not had a thumb so close to President Trump's chin as I drew it here, but I always like to try and make things a little bit, as a cartoonist, to just take it up a notch, But this is basically the picture that I drew it from. Okay, there it was. Okay, and here we have Richard Trump with Representative Lauren Boebert, okay, and Pam Bondi in wake of his Epstein's files reversal and Congress's vote. Given the Senate has sent the bill compelling the Department of Justice to release all the files tied to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein to President Donald Trump's desk. And his timing of signing the bill is unclear. It's unclear. President Trump said he'll sign it, but he didn't say when. And now it appears that nobody really knows when he's going to sign it. Again, going back to that other theory that's possible. And senators from both parties said that the DOJ must comply with the law and release the documents within 30 days once the president has signed the bill to release them. They have 30 days to do so by law. You see? And AG Pam Bondi said, the Department of Justice will continue to follow the law. So Pam Bondi says they will continue to follow the law. So the law, in this case, if there are other cases involved that would jeopardize, that would be jeopardized by releasing any kind of documents or information or whatever from the Epstein files that would jeopardize these cases, by law, they can't do it. So they're saying by law is by law. So that would be the law. So there you have it there. given that's the law. Given under law, the Justice Department would be able to. Now, here's the thing. This is what I just said. Given under law, the Justice Department would, quote, this is quote from a legal authority, would be able to withhold documents that would jeopardize an active federal investigation or ongoing prosecution, provided that such withholding is narrowly tailored. So they would like snip around showing stuff that is tailored to be to take out anything that they felt would be prejudicial against the ongoing cases that President Trump ordered Bondi, AG Bondi, to pursue here against those individuals and institutions. Now they're tailored and temporary. Temporary could mean how long is it going to be? Maybe 6 months, 8 months, a year. Temporary, still temporary. 2 years, 3 years. When President Trump is out of office, that would still be temporary, right? Because they're going to do it someday. So there you have it here. Now here goes the cartoon here. Let's just zoom in here. And there is, again, Pam Bondi's finger was not on President Trump's chin. I did that to accentuate the cartoon here a little bit. Okay, I took some liberties here in drawing this, but this is fundamentally the way it was. Okay, and here it goes. Okay, number one. Okay, and here goes President Trump. Pam, my reversal to later support the release of the Epstein files was a beautiful move. It was a beautiful move to later support the release of the Epstein files, coupled with calling on you to investigate other people and institutions for their involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, you can withhold documents that would jeopardize those federal investigations. Can you think of anyone else we can investigate? To keep the thing going, spinning around, generating more potential cases, buying some time, Okay, and then here goes Bondi here, AG Bondi. She retorts back to President Trump here, and she's saying, Mr. President, there is no one left to investigate, but we will have to give them something. We'll have to give them something, You can't just say we can't give you nothing. Do you recall any photos or videos of you and Jeffrey Epstein alone with no girls? Say, like just having fun at Palisades. Well, Jeffrey Epstein was from Brooklyn, New York. President Trump was from New York. So maybe they went out to Palisades Amusement Park in New Jersey sometimes to have some fun by themselves. They could have done that. Could have gone out there to the amusement park. Everybody went to. I went there. It was a great park back in the 60s and in the early 70s. That Palisades Amusement Park was great fun. A lot of fun there, and I remember the Cyclone roller coaster and all that. It was terrific, for a kid to have all that. So again, these people might have. Even grown-ups, I'm just saying, would enjoy that. And they might have gone out together to Palisades Amusement Park. Both of them as I said before, with Epstein coming from Brooklyn, New York, President Trump. Also, I think may have been from, but he was definitely from New York. I don't know if he was living at Brooklyn in Brooklyn at the time. Probably not. But they still could have done that. So just for fun and amusement with that, with no girls around, that could have happened at Palisades Amusement Park, and they could have just having fun at Palisades Amusement Park on the merry-go-round. They could have just been having fun, just Epstein and Trump on the merry-go-round, in separate horses, riding around, having fun, up and on the horses in Palisades Amusement Park on the merry-go-round. Okay, and here goes. President Trump responds to that merry-go-round suggestion or whatever you want to call it, just a thought there from Pam Bondi. And President Trump responds saying, Pam, I remember a lot of merry-go-rounds, but not with Jeffrey Epstein. So he's been on a lot of merry-go-rounds, but not with Jeffrey Epstein. So there you have it. That was my cartoon there, my second cartoon in the wake of President Trump reversing his decision now to support the release of the Epstein files, saying he has nothing to hide, and the Congress such a strong from the House and the Senate, such a strong response into voting for those Epstein files to be released. So those are two factors, and this is in the wake of those two things, and there they were, and that was it. I just give you the last look there. Okay. By the way, I got that idea for the merry-go-round from I was watching TikTok the other day, and they had Freddie Cannon song, Palisades Park. You know, it goes like, last night I took a walk in the park, a swinging place called Palisades Park, just to see what I could see. I took a ride on the swoop-de-doop, and the girl was... So it was a song from the 60s that I love that song, Freddie Cannon, Palisades Amusement Park, because I used to go there, and it brought back memories. So I was thinking of that, and that's how the merry-go-round got injected into this cartoon from that on TikTok that I happened to come across. Freddie Cannon is still alive today. For those of you who remember, back in the 1960, it was done. I think seems like it was later than that, but they say 1960. Seems like it was in the early mid 60s, but they say 1960 the song was done. And Freddie Cannon is about 83 years old today, still around. Just figure I'd inject that. Okay, folks, thank you for watching my video. God bless you. Hang in there, and I'll see you next time. Bye.